what if I told you that you aren't actually running out of time, you're just throwing it away?
I mean, it's a really jarring concept to face, honestly, because, we spend our days feeling just chronically rushed, like we're perpetually behind schedule.
Always.
Yeah, just desperate for like one more hour in the day. But if we actually look at our behavior honestly, we are the ones leaving the vault door wide open.
Right.
We're allowing our most precious, non-renewable resource to just be taken from us without a fight.
And that uncomfortable, basically mind-bending reality is our mission for today. So welcome to a deep dive that really aims to dismantle how you look at your calendar, your career, and honestly, just the way you process daily stress.
Yeah.
We are pulling this blueprint for a tranquil life straight from two absolute masterworks by the ancient Roman philosopher Seneca. So that's On a Happy Life and On the Shortness of Life.
And, the reason we are analyzing texts written, roughly 2,000 years ago?
Yeah, long time.
Right. The reason is that human psychology just hasn't fundamentally altered. I mean, we are wired with the exact same vulnerabilities.
We really are.
We still suffer from burnout. We still chase moving goalposts. And we still complain that life passes by too quickly. So Seneca's observations, they just cut through all the modern noise because he identified the root mechanisms of these frustrations.
Exactly. And to be clear to you listening, this isn't some dry history lesson. We are going to break down those ancient mechanisms and really translate them into strategies you can apply, like immediately.
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start with the foundation, because to stop wasting our lives, we first have to, define what a quote-unquote good life actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And according to Seneca, our default settings are pointing us in the completely wrong direction.
Yeah, he begins with this really clear premise, right? A happy life is one lived in harmony with nature and reason. But the primary obstacle to that harmony is our biological urge to follow the crowd. In fact, Seneca warns, and this is a great quote, that the crowd is the proof of the worst choice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If you base your goals or your lifestyle or your definition of success on popular consensus, he says you are basically engineering your own ruin.
Okay, wait, I need to stop you there because I want to challenge that premise a bit.
Here.
Because, we are social creatures, right?
Yeah.
So if following the crowd, like buying the house in the suburbs that everyone else buys or getting the corporate job that everyone respects, if that brings me a sense of safety and belonging, why isn't that happiness?
That's the trap, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because to me, aligning with societal norms just feels secure. Why does Seneca view the crowd as, like, a mechanism for ruin?
Okay, so because following the crowd means outsourcing your internal compass, when you adopt the crowd's definition of success, you also inherit, all of the crowd's anxieties. Right. Their fears, their endless comparisons. You are literally handing the keys to your emotional state over to a mob. Seneca views the crowd not as a safe harbor, but as this blind stampede.
Stampede, yeah.
The people in the front are desperately running towards some illusion of status, and they're literally dragging down the people behind them. And nobody stops to ask if they're even running in the right direction.
So it's really about the psychological fragility of it all. Like,
Right.
If my happiness relies on societal approval, the moment society changes its mind, my whole foundation just crumbles.
Precisely. You're completely vulnerable. And this leads to Seneca's really crucial distinction between virtue and pleasure.
Okay, let's get into that.
So for the Stoics, virtue, which is the practice of reason, moral rightness, just cultivating a resilient mind that is the highest good, it is immortal. It's generated internally.
Right.
Pleasure, on the other hand, is completely fleeting. It relies entirely on external circumstances aligning in your favor.
But surely Seneca isn't saying we should actively avoid pleasure
Right.
or avoid success.
Oh, no, not at all. And he actually uses a highly specific, really beautiful metaphor to explain the relationship between the two. He compares pursuing virtue to plowing a field to grow corn.
Okay, corn.
Right. The corn is the objective. It is the life-sustaining harvest that requires, discipline and intention to grow. Now, while that corn is growing, random wildflowers might just bloom in the field.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, and those flowers represent pleasure, wealth, or status. They're just a nice, unexpected bonus, but you never plow the field for the flowers.
Right, you're not farming flowers.
Exactly. True happiness is securing your internal harvest, the corn, which basically renders your mind indifferent to whether the flowers bloom or not.
Okay, let me push this into a modern scenario, because I think this is where people find Stoicism a bit frustrating sometimes.
Look for it.
Let's say I am aiming for a major promotion at work. The daily grind, my work ethic, the late nights, that's me plowing for the corn, right?
Yep.
And the promotion itself, the salary bump, that's the wildflower. So what happens when, I don't know, a corporate restructuring happens and my boss fires me instead of promoting me? Does Seneca really expect me to just smile and say, well, the harvest was internal?
Yes and no. He expects you to recognize that the restructuring was entirely outside of your control, and therefore, it's not a reflection of your worth.
Sure.
Look, if you aimed directly for the promotion, the flowers, your dopamine system and your self-worth were completely tied to an external event you couldn't control, so when you get fired, you are devastated.
Right, my world ends.
Exactly. But if your goal was virtue-like, developing your skills, practicing discipline, being a really reliable colleague, you achieved that goal regardless of the firing.
I see.
Your internal foundation remains unshakable. It's really just a psychological mechanism to make yourself bulletproof against bad luck.
Look, this concept of internal resilience sounds fantastic in theory, but I have to play devil's advocate here regarding the source material.
I know where you're going with this.
You probably do. Seneca was like one of the wealthiest, most powerful men in Rome. He owned vast estates. He was a huge political power player.
Oh, massively wealthy.
Right, so it feels incredibly convenient for a guy living in a literal mansion to tell everyone else, hey, don't worry about material wealth, just focus on your inner virtue. How is he not just a massive hypocrite?
That is the exact accusation he faced from his own contemporaries.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They aggressively criticized him for his immense wealth, demanding to know how a so-called Stoic philosopher could hoard millions. But his defense of this actually provides one of the most practical frameworks for modern professionals.
Okay, what was his defense?
Seneca argues that a wise person doesn't reject wealth, they simply change their relationship to it. So he introduces this concept of the preferred indifferent.
A preferred indifferent. That sounds like a total contradiction.
It is a nuanced distinction, for sure. He acknowledges that having a comfortable home is preferable to, say, sleeping on a bridge with beggars. Health is preferable to sickness. Wealth is preferable to poverty.
Right, obviously.
But they remain indifferent to his core moral character. He argued that his internal peace would not degrade 1% if his estates were seized and he ended up on that bridge.
Wow.
His famous defense is, and I love this, wealth is a slave to the wise man, but a master to the fool.
So the fool adjusts their morals, their schedule, and their peace of mind just to serve their bank account, while the wise man uses the bank account but refuses to compromise their mind to keep it.
Correct. He actually uses a nautical analogy to explain this. A skilled sailor obviously prefers a favorable wind, right?
Sure, makes the journey smoother.
Right. But if a violent storm hits, the sailor's core identity, their actual skill at navigating the ship doesn't vanish. The storm is just a change in the weather.
Ah, I love that.
So if you apply this to, say, the listener's career, pursue the business launch, chase the financial success, enjoy the comfortable lifestyle, but practice a mental detachment where you could lose it all tomorrow without losing yourself.
The mechanism there makes so much sense. Because when you are terrified of losing your job or your status, you act defensively.
Very defensively.
You agree to unreasonable demands, you stress over minor mistakes, your anxiety just spikes constantly. But if you've detached your inner tranquility from those external outcomes, you actually perform better.
Exactly.
You negotiate from a place of power because you aren't desperate.
Exactly. You operate with total clarity. Now, if we accept that wealth and status are merely preferred indifference, just bonuses we shouldn't tie our identity to, it reveals a massive, glaring paradox in how we operate daily.
You mean the transition from how we treat wealth to how we treat time?
Right. We spend our entire lives violently protecting this indifferent material wealth, yet we freely, almost enthusiastically give away the one resource required to actually build that internal resilience. Our time.
Oh man, it's so true.
And this is the central thesis of On the Shortness of Life. Seneca notes that prominent thinkers, even Aristotle, complained that nature was cruel for giving humans such a brief lifespan. But Seneca vehemently rejects this.
He does.
He argues that life is remarkably long, provided we don't squander it.
I want the listener to picture their own calendar right now, because Seneca's observation on human hypocrisy here is just staggering.
It really is.
He points out that if a neighbor tried to move a fence 1 inch onto your property, or if a stranger tried to take $5 from your wallet, you would fight them fiercely. You protect your physical boundaries with weapons and laws.
Absolutely.
Yet if a colleague puts a vague 4 p.m. meeting on your calendar or an app sends you a notification, You hand over an hour of your life without a second thought. You invite strangers into your vault and let them walk out with your time.
Yep.
Exactly. Wait, let me rephrase that. The psychological disconnect is profound. Why do we guard the replaceable resource so fiercely, but give away the irreplaceable one?
Because time is intangible. I mean, you can look at a bank statement and see the balance drop, right? And that triggers a biological stress response. But you cannot literally see your lifespan draining away. So Seneca identifies a specific type of person who falls victim to this illusion, the occupatus, or the busy person.
The busy person.
Right. And in modern culture, we use busyness as a status symbol. We brag about being back-to-back in meetings or overwhelmed with obligations. But Seneca diagnoses this not as success, but as a profound disease of the mind.
He has some really vivid historical examples of the occupatus that just mirror us perfectly today. I recall reading about the Roman elites obsessed with their collections.
Oh, yes. He describes men who spend all day obsessively arranging Corinthian bronze artifacts, inspecting them for minor imperfections.
Wow.
Think of the modern equivalent, right? The person spending 3 hours agonizing over the aesthetic curation of their Instagram grid or obsessing over a sneaker collection.
Yes.
He also describes men at the barber who will fight into a rage over a single out-of-place curl. They're prioritizing the appearance of their life over actually living it.
But, okay, the most terrifying example he gives is the man in the bathhouse. Walk us through that one, because the psychological implication is just heavy.
Yeah, that one is striking. Seneca describes this pampered, overly indulged Roman elite who is physically lifted out of his bath by his slaves, placed in a chair, and then looks up and genuinely asks, "Am I seated?"
That is just wild. The complete erosion of self-awareness.
I mean, it sounds comical, but look at the mechanism behind it. This man has outsourced so much of his own existence to other people and to routines that he no longer feels his own body.
Right.
He is entirely disconnected from the present moment. And think about how we operate today. We need a smartwatch to tell us if we slept well.
Oh, that hurts.
We need an app to tell us to stand up or take a breath. We are so consumed by the momentum of our routines that we literally have to ask external tools, am I experiencing this?
We have become the guy in the bathhouse. We really have. We are just carried from the bed, to the commute, to the office, to the couch, completely numb to the passage of those hours.
And this brings us to Seneca's most powerful metaphor regarding time. He warns that we constantly confuse existing for a long time with actually living a long life.
Okay, what's the metaphor?
He describes a ship that leaves the dock only to immediately get caught in a violent swirling storm right inside the harbor.
Right inside the harbor.
Yes, the ship is tossed left and right, spun in circles by the wind for days. Eventually, the storm breaks and the ship drops anchor back at the exact same dock. Has that ship made a long voyage?
No, it hasn't gone anywhere at all.
It has merely been tossed around for a long time. That is the fate of the occupatus. You can spend 80 years reacting to emails, chasing promotions, answering to demands, and fighting daily fires.
Just fighting the storm.
Exactly. You can endure the storm in the harbor for decades, but you haven't made a journey. You haven't explored your own mind. You haven't cultivated virtue, and you haven't engaged with purpose.
If the default state of modern work is spinning in the harbor, how do we actually set sail? Because I am putting myself in the shoes of, like, an exhausted parent or a junior associate working 60 hours a week.
Yeah, it's tough.
It is very easy for a philosopher in a mansion to say, don't be an occupatus, but I have a mortgage, I have unyielding obligations, I cannot drop out of society. So what is the practical mechanism for reclaiming this time?
The very first step requires dismantling a deeply ingrained psychological trap, which is the habit of deferring life.
Deferring life.
Right. We constantly project our real existence into some imagined future. We tell ourselves, I will grind through this terrible job until I'm 60, and then I will focus on myself.
Then I'll be happier.
Exactly. Then I will read, travel, and find peace. Seneca practically interrogates the reader over this mindset. He asks, by what right do you assume you will live that long? Who guaranteed you those future years?
We treat tomorrow as an absolute certainty, which totally devalues today.
Worse than that, Seneca asks why we are willing to give our best, most energetic, most capable years to a corporation or to the crowd, while saving only the frail, leftover fragments of our life for ourselves.
Oof.
He argues that the greatest waste of a life is expectation, leaning on the hope of tomorrow while passively losing today.
That reframing is brutal, but completely necessary. We're constantly preparing to live, but rarely just living. So if we stop deferring, what is the Stoic alternative to the daily grind?
The Stoic solution is a practice called Otium.
Otium.
Yes, it is often loosely translated as leisure or retreat, but that translation is a bit dangerous in a modern context.
Why is that?
Because otium does not mean sitting on a beach sipping a drink or zoning out in front of a television.
Right.
That's just a different form of passive existence. Otium is time carved out intentionally for the self. It is active, meaningful engagement with your own mind, with philosophy, and with the pursuit of wisdom.
I struggle with this concept a bit because in the smartphone era,
Yeah.
sitting quietly for 30 minutes feels like absolute torture for a lot of people.
It does.
The silence is deafening. So are we just supposed to meditate in a dark room? Because I think most people would fail at that and just give up.
No, Seneca doesn't prescribe empty silence at all. He frames otium as an active dialogue with the greatest minds in history.
Oh, interesting.
He specifically advises spending this carved-out time with thinkers like Socrates, Zeno, or Epicurus through their writings. He makes this profound point. We are not biologically limited to our own short lifespan.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when you engage with deep philosophy or great literature, you are literally annexing all of human history to your own life.
I want to highlight the mechanics of that because it's brilliant. If I spend an hour reading the concentrated thoughts of a genius who lived 1,000 years ago, I am absorbing a lifetime of their hard-won wisdom in a single afternoon.
Yes.
I am artificially extending my own lived experience. I mean, it is the ultimate life hack.
It is the only way to genuinely master your time. When you practice otium, even if it is just 30 minutes a day, protected aggressively on your calendar, you are no longer reacting to the demands of the crowd.
Right.
You are proactively deciding to engage with the deepest ideas humanity has produced. This is how you build the internal harvest of corn we discussed earlier.
It all comes back to the corn.
It does. You fortify your mind so that when you return to the emails and the daily chaos, the storm in the harbor doesn't dictate your internal weather.
Let's pull all these threads together into a daily Stoic living guide for the listener, translating 2,000 years of philosophy into actionable steps for tomorrow morning.
Sounds good.
First, we redefine happiness. We stop outsourcing our definition of success to the crowd, recognizing that chasing external approval leaves us psychologically fragile. We plow for the corn of internal virtue, treating the wildflowers of wealth or status as bonuses we can afford to lose.
Second, we change our relationship with wealth and career outcomes. We pursue them, sure, but as preferred indifferents. We strip them of their power to cause us anxiety by acknowledging they do not define our worth. Wealth becomes a tool we use, not a master we serve.
Third, and perhaps most urgently, we cure ourselves of the disease of busyness. We stop treating time like an infinite resource that anyone can dip into. We implement boundaries around our schedule that are just as rigid, if not more so, than the boundaries around our physical property. We recognize that deferring our life until retirement is a gamble we are statistically likely to lose.
And finally, we implement otium. We refuse to let the entire day be consumed by routine. We carve out intentional time to retreat, to read, to think, and to annex the wisdom of history, ensuring that we are actually making a journey, not just spinning our ship in the harbor.
If we synthesize this entire philosophical deep dive into a single life-changing shift in perspective, it is this. Stop treating your life as a prologue to something that happens later. Organize every single day as if it were a complete self-contained life.
Absolutely. And as you close this audio and transition back to your daily obligations, your inbox, your meetings, the endless stream of notifications, I want you to consider a final thought experiment.
Let's hear it.
Look closely at the tasks, the apps, or the people you are freely handing your afternoon over to. Ask yourself this question. Would you hand them a crisp $100 bill as mindlessly and automatically as you are handing them an hour of your life?
Wow.
If the answer is no, why are you continuing to give away the only currency in the universe that you can never earn back?
Are you running out of time, or are you just throwing it away? It's time to close the vault. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.